is the low in for Bitcoin and the altcoins, and we are on the verge of a major move to the upside. That is what I want to be discussing with you in this video, giving you an unbiased viewpoint of the technical analysis. So we're truly going to have our technical analysis lens here, analyzing the market and really deciphering, is the low in right now? Of course, on Friday, we saw $19 billion of liquidations, the largest, highest, greatest amount of liquidations we have ever seen in crypto. $19 billion in a day liquidated from the market. Of course, it is very sad, but historically speaking, this has been a major buying opportunity. It essentially acts as a market reset, so to speak. And, well, you could also say bigger players getting their fills. But what we want to think about here is analyzing this from now. Okay, so here we are on Monday. We're coming into New York Open, which I've been saying is absolutely crucial. How New York opens will be key. And so we're going to put together all these pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, and give us a clear outlook of what we can be looking at next. Again, unbiased viewpoint, just focused on the technical analysis. So with that said, let's jump over to the charts. Of course, when I was talking about the liquidations, we were talking about this in yesterday's video of when would it be a good time to long Bitcoin? But historically speaking, yes, this high amount of liquidations does equal a great buying opportunity. Is it going to be a great buying opportunity today? So with that said, first of all, New York Open. We all know the importance of New York Open. On Friday, we saw a massive move to the downside. Was it fueled by Trump engaging in potential war talks or tariff talks with China? We can say yes. You know, that move down, though, was already programmed. If you've watched my videos, you know we were short on Bitcoin from $126,000. There were signs in the charts, such as Ethereum, that it was extremely weak, looking for a major move to the downside. So same on, like, for example, here is Solana coming down to $150 prediction, right? There were signs that there was market weakness, but were we expecting that massive crash in the space of an hour? No. Of course, Trump, with that talk, essentially sped up from what, in my opinion, was already going to be happening, but he undeniably sped it up. But what happened here? He sped it up to levels of support which were truly massive. So I just want to spend 1 minute here reminding you of the support that we've bounced off on Bitcoin. And this is the trend line from the Elliott wave count I have, which connects the low of the 2 to the low of the 4. And this is a truly important trend line when it comes to support on Bitcoin. And just to show you here that this is not a trend line that I've added on after the fact, here we are in a Champions live stream. There is the exact trend line, 2 to the 4. Okay, so from the August lows to around those middle of April lows. Okay, so that is the 2-4 trend line. So you can see the importance here. We also have a scenario where it's dropping down to around $101,000 and hitting onto that 2-4 trend line. You can clearly see here we have got it marked out as a key level of support the market will pull down to before moving up. And you can see now that 2-4 trend line from August to the middle of April, the exact same trend line, is where the market pulled down to the dollar there at around $2,000 before pumping here to $115,000. And I'm just telling you this to remind you, if anything, that this is a technical drop. The levels that we have dropped to are not random at all. So just as on Bitcoin, that dropped down to a truly technical level of support. Remember here on Ethereum, we were shorting where to? 3,500. Where did it drop to? 3,300, but within the space of that truly important technical support. We look at Solana. Where was the support we were looking for? $150 Solana. Where did Solana drop to? $150. So yes, this move was very quick on Friday. We all agree that it was an extremely quick move. Happened in the space of like an hour, right? Massive move to the downside. It was undeniably helped, aided, sped up by Trump. I do believe that, yes. But what is really funny, well, funny is again a hard to say word, but what is interesting is that the levels that we dropped to were technical levels that we were aware of on Bitcoin, that we were aware of on Ethereum, that we were aware of on Solana. And I suppose not just aware of, but we were getting fills. So I personally got filled on Solana, $150. I know Severin, I missed Link, but Severin got filled on Link, $11. He also got filled on Solana $168. But you get the idea. I actually got filled on Bitcoin $107,000. Like the levels that we drop to are truly technical. Does that mean the low is in? No, and that's what we need to analyze next. But the first thing that I just want to really emphasize here, the final time I'm going to emphasize it, is the move down on Friday, massive liquidation spike. That, historically speaking, is a very bullish sign. We have seen a lot of liquidations. The move down was very quick, but that move down, we could say, was already programmed. We hit into the major resistance levels. It was time to get those drops, right? It was time to get those drops. We were shorting for them. And then last of all, the levels that we have actually bounced off of were levels that we were literally predicting it to bounce off of. So if that's happened on your altcoins, it's happened on Bitcoin, you know, we have to seriously respect it. Could the low be in? And so let's come down to around a 4-hour time frame viewpoint here. I'm going to come down to the 4-hour chart. We're going to remove just a second and we'll add on our higher term time frame levels. So we can see, yeah, a very nice bounce to the upside. Actually accelerated yesterday. You know, this move accelerated into Sunday evening. And I've been saying that the importance of New York Open, but there's something prior to New York Open, which is our futures open, and that opens at literally 11 p.m. UK time. And you can see yesterday, within 1 minute, super bullish open, reversal on the CME. So we saw yesterday at 11 p.m. UK time. To the minute, you know, I'm updating the team. That's a very bullish open on the CME. And here we go. I mentioned this because why? Because this is bullish locally for Bitcoin. And we can see, we have, of course, seen a larger move to the upside. But when we come and look at our futures, look at this. That was where we closed on Friday. We opened 11 p.m. and we've got continuation throughout the night, right? Of course, the Bitcoin chart, not quite the same viewpoint, hasn't had the same strength, but what I've been emphasizing is the importance of New York. And New York Open actually hasn't happened. This is just the futures open, but this is like the little heads up prior. Okay, it's out of hours trading at the end of the day. We can't be saying it's that important what's going on right now. The bigger importance is New York Open, but it's just another little heads up. Again, trading is all about these little wedges, little heads up, right? And so where could we start to say with confidence, right? Let's say where we could say with confidence that the low is in. And I do think that we need to start to see a major reclaim back into our prior range. So when we talk about prior ranges, this was the range that we were trading in, right? This was our prior trading range. You can see this great naked point of control sat at 122K. And I understand that some people are going to say, well, you're waiting for that sign of strength, but that's already a major move to the upside. And I totally get that. I'm not saying that once you've seen that sign of strength, you're going to be opening longs. Of course not. But what I am saying is that would give us great confidence that the low is in. Okay. But again, that doesn't really offer a trade. It just offers information. It offers data of saying, well, yeah, the low is in and it's up from here. But again, because you have to understand the reason that level is so far away is because that drop was so large. So that kind of goes hand in hand together. You're not going to have a super close sign of strength when the move is absolutely massive, right? It's just not actually ever going to happen. So, 122K, reclaiming that previous range point of control, getting back above the major levels, that's clearly a major sign of strength. But again, I do not think that offers us a trade. We've been talking about the opportunity of filling the wick. Is this wick still likely to fill? Well, in my opinion, actually, no, if New York opens with full strength. Okay, so it's like I was saying here. If New York opens full upwards, Bitcoin's going to follow. And I still hold that opinion. That is an opinion I still hold. So I want you to have full focus on what happens today on New York Open. Of course, it's a little bit hard because today is the New York, Canada holiday. There is a holiday today. The market is open, but it's going to be super low volume because it is a national holiday, which leads us on to tomorrow's New York Open. We can say has a greater importance. Unfortunately, there is the holiday. There's nothing we can do about that. That is a national holiday. So there is going to be lower volume. So really tomorrow's New York Open is going to be pinnacle, going to be very key. So I would just say, please, please, please have a full focus of how New York opens. If it opens with full strength, then it is very likely that Bitcoin follows along. And then we do not need to be looking, at least in the short term, for this wick to be filled. The low literally can be in and it's up, up, up from here. And this is what we talk about unbiased. Do not try and what I would use that information is I wouldn't be trying to short. Okay, there's no need to be trying to short a market which is just super strong. Okay, but let's say New York opens actually with weakness. Well, then that opens up. Okay, we can look for that wick to fill. And this is truly how a professional has to approach the market. We have to be aware of both sides of the coin here. We have to be aware of a scenario where New York is super bullish and we get a large move to the upside, which we do not want to try and fade. And we have to be aware of the scenario where we get a bearish New York open and we absolutely can look for this to make a significant retracement. Again, we are not here to necessarily predict that and say, well, this is going to be what happens, because we have, to be honest, there is no way of knowing how New York is going to open. We have to wait for that data. And that is half the game of trading, waiting patiently. We know what we're waiting for, New York open. And what is the use of trying to predict that when it is a 50-50? It opens bullish or it opens bearish. Let's just wait. It literally is in a few hours' time. So wait and see. I think that will give us a great heads up when we start to talk about nice trades. As I was talking you through yesterday, I still feel that we have that short sat towards the support resistance 119.5. In terms of support here, well, this is a little bit harder to define because this is in the middle of nothing, okay, which is $107,000. The CC there is in the middle of nothing. Of course, you have a more internal retracement, daily naked point of control, which is going to be right on that uptrend point of control. This is a fairly nice level, to be honest, 111.7. And then you, of course, have the fill the wick scenario. I am not here to make a prediction in this video. Why? Because I do not feel that there is a high probability. I like to make strong predictions, such as this short on Ethereum. This was a very, very, very strong prediction. I had full confidence. It was a short trade that I absolutely loved. Okay, so when the time is right, I will make very strong prediction and calls. When it's like this, a little bit of 50-50, we need to wait for the data of New York open, I'm not going to come in and just randomly make a strong call. I'm going to say let's wait for that data and react. That's the key here. We got to react to that data. It will literally be, I've said this many times, like playing poker. Okay, you have a weak hand. You don't want to be playing your weak hand, right? You want to wait at least for the other cards to be shown, right? You wait for the market to show its hand. And that's what we got to be doing here, remaining patient, waiting for the market to show its hand. We know exactly when it will be shown. We just need to remain patient for that card to be shown. And then we're going to have a much higher probability. Is it worth playing our hands and taking a trade? Or do we want to just, we don't want to just fold and wait for a new hand, wait for a new setup to form? Right now, I am remaining totally patient. I have no interest in trading before New York open. And I, of course, no financial advice, but I do think it is a very good idea to wait for that hand to be shown, see how New York opens, and then make a reaction to that. So going back to the original question, is the low in for Bitcoin? Well, historically speaking, from the data that we've seen with the liquidations, there's a very good chance the low is in. But this time round, I truly think that you want to wait for the New York Open, which is in a few hours. But again, we could be linking it to tomorrow's because of the holiday today. If that opens with strength, then I will say with much more confidence, yes, the low is in locally. I think that we can push on towards all-time highs. If that is more of a bearish open, then no, I do not think the low is in and we can come down and fill the wick. So that is my opinion of how I will be looking to trade it today. It's as simple as that. I will say this, I am going to do a live stream today after New York Open, okay, or on and around New York Open. I will be going live today for a Champions live stream, just like in this Champions live stream where we were doing Elliott wave counts, this Champions live stream where we were looking for the pullback. These are the live streams where I go over Bitcoin, higher term time frame, swing trades. Today, I will be going live to do a live stream on Bitcoin. This is for the champion members. So what you are waiting for patiently now is New York Open. If you know what you're looking for and how to trade it, amazing. If you don't, then I'm going to be doing a live stream today with around New York Open to analyze that and say, well, I think the low is in or no. The data that I'm waiting for, I know exactly when I'm waiting for it. I will go live for that live stream today for the champion members. So if you want to see that, you know where to get it first, and that is via chartchampions.com. Anyway, hope that you have enjoyed. Remember, we have truly hit some very technical levels. And now we wait for New York Open. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you ever so much. And that's me signing out. Cheers, everybody. Thank you, and goodbye.